Good evening and happy Friday. This is Shana from the Trade Exchange, and I want to get right into the big announcement this week, and that was tax reform. We heard from Republicans on Wednesday, and President Trump came out with an announcement on what he wants to do with our current tax table and how he wants to make changes. So, just some important bullet points that they went over. Well, the corporate tax rate, they want to go from 35% to 20%. The pass-through business tax, they want to cut that 25%. And something very interesting. Right now, there's 7 personal tax slabs for individuals. They want to cut that down to just 3, 12%, 25%, and 35% respectively. So very interesting. On a positive note, the rate of growth was revised from 3 to 3.1% in the U.S. economy's latest revision of the GDP. So some positive news for the United States coming out this week. I want to also take a look at one stock this week because we've had some interesting ones. We had some big movers this week, some that went up a lot, some that went down a lot. But one of the big ones that went up this just today actually, Zogenix. Take a look at this chart. Zogenix was up over 200% today. They closed out up on the week 172%. Well, this is all due to positive results from a late stage trial for a drug that they've been testing. It's a low dose fenfluramine hydrochloride is the name of the drug, and it's to treat epilepsy. It's to treat a rare type of epilepsy called Dravet syndrome. Now, it met its main goals. It's reduced the amount of convulsions in young adults and in children, and this is very important. This is a epilepsy that affects 1 in 15,700 individuals. So they had really great results on their late stage trial of this treatment, and you see the response. You see this is up again. It was up over 200% today, but again, closed out the week up 172%. But what happens when a pharmaceutical company doesn't do so on a late stage trial? Well, we saw it on Tuesday with Axovant. So Axovant is down over 70%. Now this is due to a drug they were testing. They were in the late stage trials for Intepirdine. And Intepirdine was going to be tested to be used with patients who suffer from Alzheimer's, from mild to moderate Alzheimer's, who hadn't yet responded to other treatments, initial treatments. So they tested this out, and unfortunately, it failed the key tests. It didn't help with their cognitive abilities. It didn't help with their daily activities, and it was even compared to being a placebo. So there's no cure for Alzheimer's. There's drugs that help with symptoms, and this was going to be to help with one of those. But to date, there's actually been only 4 drugs that have ever been approved to help treat symptoms, and the last one was in 2003. But, Axovant's not giving up so easily. They're actually going to use this drug, and they're going to experiment and test it on patients who have Lewy body dementia. So those results are expected by the end of the year. So hopefully, if they get some positive results from that, we might see their stock come back up a little bit. We also had earnings this week. So let's take a look at one company. Didn't do so great on earnings. Well, it's Rite Aid. So their earnings were in line. They were forecast at -1 cent. They came in at -1 cent. However, their revenue, they were expected to come in at $7.83 billion. They only came in at $7.7 billion. And same-store sales, that's a really important number. Their same-store sales are down 3.4%. So this is the first time, you see where their stock is trading today, it closed at $1.96. Well, this is the first time in 4 years that their stock has traded below $2. So Loop Capital also lowered their price target for Rite Aid to $2. And they expect that this increasing pressure on pharmaceutical companies, it could increase because, you may guess it, but who did they think might get involved? Amazon. So again, if Amazon now goes after the pharmaceutical companies, they're afraid this pressure could mount on this. And so we see this with Rite Aid. Again, it's down over 17% this week. On a positive note, I want to end on a positive note. Somebody who did great with earnings, take a look at BlackBerry's chart. So this is BlackBerry. They're up 22% this week. Their earnings, they did great. Theirs was coming at 3 cents. They come in at 5 cents. Their revenue are forecasted $221 million. They came in at $249 million. And they raised their outlook for fiscal year 2018. So RBC raised the price target to $10.50. But BlackBerry has some interesting things going on. They actually signed their first BlackBerry Secure licensing deal. And then on top of that, they're actually working with a car maker on trying to develop a autonomous software. And they expect that deal to close by the end of the year. So could be why they're raising their fiscal year 2018 outlook, as they have a very positive and bright future looking ahead for BlackBerry. Now let's take a look at crude oil. So The U.S., we had our Baker Hughes numbers. Well, the U.S. is continuing to increase the amount of rigs. Oil is up 6 at 750, and the total rig count is up 5 at 940. So oil is actually up 1.86% this week. And this is even with the pressure that's going on that there may be a bit of struggle with the amount of oil that's coming out of Iraq in the near future. So for some of you who don't know, there was a referendum on Monday with the Kurdish people in Iraq, and they voted an overwhelmingly majority that they want to have independence from Iraq. Well, because there's Kurdish migrants in Turkey and Iraq and Iran and surrounding countries, there's a lot of opposition about what this could mean for them and what this could cause for their countries. So the Kurdish area has a large part of it's very oil rich, and they export it out of Turkey. Now President Erdogan, who is the Turkish president, said that he might not allow Kurdish oil to transient through his country. He may not allow that to go through because he doesn't know what this referendum is going to cause now for his country and what problems it could bring to them. So Baghdad's telling people to please don't buy this Kurdish oil, and now if this happens, if they're not able to export their oil, that could affect oil by about 500,000 barrels a day. So pretty big impact. So it's very interesting to see that even with all that going on, oil's still up 1.86% this week. Last but not least, let's take a look at the indices. So the indices, or the Dow, were up this week. It's up 0.25% and closed out 22,405. S&Ps are up 0.68% this week. They closed out 25.19. NASDAQ is up 1.07% this week. They closed out 64.95. And gold closed out 1282.10. They're down this week 1.38%. And last but not least, our VIX. Our VIX closed out low volatility still, closing out 9.51. I want to thank you all for joining me. It's been a pleasure being with you this week, and I look forward to joining you next week. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.